What up, guys? It's January 22nd. It's Sunday. Markets are closed, but we're going to go and get ourselves prepared after watching a lot of NFL football this weekend. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that Cowboys and Niners game and then that Cincinnati and Bills game. Pretty enjoyable games for me. Can't wait to see the AFC and NFC Championship games next week, okay? But it's been pretty cold in Vegas, so we're going to get started with preparing for next week, which has a ton of economic data, tons of earnings reports. So it's kind of like your prep video for the coming week, okay? So let's get started with it, of course. Please hit that like button, hit subscribe, of course. Hopefully we learn something from these videos and we have some fun in the meantime, okay? Let's get to it. So I'll keep myself big since I can keep myself big on this screen here, okay? But this is the economic calendar for this week, okay? I use the Econo Day calendar. That's what I'm using here. A lot of people use Market Watch. Either one is fine, but neither one was showing me core PCE on Friday. If you know why that is, let me know. But I think, or I'm pretty sure core PCE is on Friday. But other than that, okay, we'll start talking about Monday. Nothing there that we're looking for Monday. On Tuesday, the PMI numbers. I don't like watching the PMI numbers. Very hard to understand the manufacturing index numbers. Not a lot to do with how the market moves at the end of the day. I've never seen the market move violently because of these PMI sort of manufacturing numbers. Okay, now on Wednesday, nothing there that I'm interested in, but of course on Thursday, that's where we get a lot of important economic data. And again, remember, everybody's looking at this, or the market, when I say everybody, the market is looking at this through blinders, right? They have blinders on, and they're just saying, not how do we like these numbers, what is our interpretation of what the Federal Reserve is going to do? How is the Federal Reserve going to react to these numbers? So GDP, of course, very important. Gross domestic product measures the growth, flatline or decrease of the economy. Okay, so this is going to be very important, and to see how the market reacts to the GDP number, or the market's interpretation of what the Fed thinks is going, or what the Fed is going to do, right? Now, jobless claims, last week's jobless claims were stronger than expected, so when the market sees a strong number, they don't like it. They believe the Fed is going to come crashing down with higher rates for longer if strong numbers ensue there. And then inventory levels, there's wholesale and retail inventories. We want to see higher inventories. Of course, we don't want to see lower, because that means that prices are higher. Supply and demand, right? The less supply and more demand, the higher the prices, okay? So new home sales, same situation there with new home sales. I think this number is going to be bad, which is what we want. So we want bad home everything numbers, because the Federal Reserve is going to be, I think, hesitant to really break down the home market. I think that prices are going to go down. We've heard already from KB Homes, in which they're talking about canceling building contracts and trying to back out of contracts. We heard that from KB Home. DR Horton reports this coming week. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up, okay? And then on Friday, consumer sentiment, measuring the sentiment of the consumer, pretty simple to understand there, and pending home sales index. Hopefully the number is higher as far as pending home sales. Hopefully the number is higher, and there's a lot of homes out there that haven't been sold, or very few amount in contract, or contracts that are being canceled, so the Fed doesn't come crashing down on us with higher rates for longer. Okay, now let's move on. Now we talk about the context of how the market and how we should be looking at this economic data. Okay, and here I have a little scale to kind of help you understand how the market, right, and what do we need to see from this economic data. Okay, so we have these numbers here, of course, or this scale here that I kind of put together. And what we want to see, right, when it comes to a report, of course, we have inline, we have bad, we have great numbers, right, as far as the expectation. What we need to see is right here. That's what we need to see. We need to see economic reports, possibly even big stocks, big companies, or big companies reporting numbers that are slightly below, not in line, but slightly below inline numbers, sort of like the thread the needle sort of point for the Federal Reserve, in which the Federal Reserve goes, hey, what we're doing is working. So this is where we want to be as far as eco data and the big companies, the big mega cap, like the Googles, Facebooks, Meta, of course, called Meta, Microsoft, that's reporting, I think, on Wednesday. That's what we want to see from these companies, sort of like slightly less than in line with some maybe good news coming in the future. Okay, and of course, if the reports are too bad, right, meaning not slightly below in line, and they're just terrible numbers as far as economic and earnings numbers, the market reaction is going to be, oh my God, the Fed broke the economy, right? The opposite of that, of course, are great numbers, strong economy, strong job numbers, strong everything. The Wall Street, or the stock market is going to say, hey, the Fed rates haven't worked. This is going to bring higher for longer. So this is essentially the scale of the reaction of the stock market to this economic data, and as far as it relates to the Federal Reserve. Hopefully this made some sense as far as expectations being less than in line, so it sort of threads the needle for the market, and we can go higher, or at least not go down as much as previously in June and October. Now let's move on. We're going to talk about earnings, okay? And this is everybody's favorite part, right? Earnings. And this is the economic calendar for next week, brought to you by Earnings Whispers. Okay, these guys are pretty good. Look them up on Twitter. That's how I get this earnings calendar. I think also on Instagram they have something like that, or on their website. You can see some more stuff there on their website. Okay, and we'll start with Monday. And I put red, what I'm really interested in, yellow, what I'm sort of like loosely following, because I don't have time to listen to every single conference call. I'm a one-man show, so I don't have time to listen to all these. But the ones in red, for sure, I'm listening to. Yellow, loosely sort of following them and seeing some kind of summary of their earnings report. And we'll start here with Logitech, okay? And Logitech, of course, we're watching that because we're an owner of Corsair stock. Competitors in some way. Logitech is for office, sort of peripherals. They do have their gaming segment, but Corsair is pure gaming. So as a competitor, a stock that is very well compared to Corsair, we definitely watch and hear the call of competitors to see what they're putting up with, what they're doing well, and that we can expect in our own stock when they report. Okay, and that's it for Monday. For Tuesday, we're not watching Verizon or any of those. We're loosely following Raytheon and Union Pacific. Raytheon because it's a defense contractor. Been more interested in the defense contractors to see how they're spending their money when it comes to our defense holding, which is Palantir. That's our defense exposure in our portfolio. So if we have defense exposure, I'm kind of interested to see what the defense sector is doing as far as capital expenditures. So Raytheon would be pretty interesting to watch there. And then Union Pacific, this is for like an overall economy sort of feel. Union Pacific, of course, logistics, trains. We definitely want to hear a summary of what they had to say, either positive or negative. D.R. Horton, that's housing. We own Rocket Mortgage. We own that stock, so we definitely want to hear anything to do with housing. We want to hear. And as far as weakness or strength in it and how it brings the Federal Reserve. So dual purpose there for housing stocks, the economy and also our Rocket Mortgage stock, okay? Now, moving on, Microsoft, of course, that's the big stock we want to hear about. I kind of want to hear about their capital expenditure into Chat GPT. For those that they don't know what that is, please use it. It's amazing AI technology. It changes the world. It's changing how I do my daily living, how I work, at work, and how I do my job. Definitely check that out. I think the only way to play it so far is Microsoft for Chat GPT. I think there's going to be a lot of growth there, and that's going to bring Bing back into the the eyes and ears of people and bring severe competition to Google. So definitely check that out, okay? And then Texas Instruments, that's a must listen for me. This is a semiconductor chip, computer chip maker. We own AMD, we own NXPI, that's NXP Semiconductors, okay? And we own, which one do we own again? That's a semiconductor stock. Let me think about that one. Marvell Technologies, that's what we own, Marvell Technologies. So anything chip related, very interesting, very interested to hear. I also want to say Capital One. I kind of will not listen to it, but maybe I'll get a very brief summary of Capital One because it's sort of like an economy stock. This is kind of like the poor man's credit card as far as Capital One. So I'll be interested to hear a summary on what they're doing and what their debt's looking like, whether people are paying back their credit card bills. There's been a lot of news about how people are spending more on credit cards, more than in a lot of years or ever, by the matter of fact. So very interesting to hear what Capital One will have to say about default rates, about new openings, whether they're slowing, getting better. So that'll be interesting there. I'll probably hear a short summary of Capital One. Nothing else there for Tuesday. For Wednesday before the open, nothing here interests me, but ASML, computer chip maker, just like Lam Research. These guys are not chip plays, like essentially computer chip plays. They are computer chip equipment makers. So I'll be interested to hear what they have to say in their conference call. Nothing else there, but Tesla, of course. Who doesn't want to hear about Tesla? I don't listen to the conference call, to be honest, but I think it's going to be a pretty pivotal conference call in how they give context to their recent price drops. You guys remember I did that video last time, which was Ford versus Tesla, and how I was favoring Ford because of the value proposition of the F-150 Lightning and the Mach-E versus the Model Y, the Model 3, and that the price drops happened maybe a week or two after I made that video, so that changed. That video is completely out the window because the value proposition more evens out and it's probably more beneficial towards Tesla. So I think I'll be interested here, and I think they're going to talk a lot about that value proposition changing and about how their demand's now going through the roof and they can't make enough cars. They're going to continue making cars forever. And I think that'll probably help the stock a lot, and it'll probably move higher, probably between maybe 5 to 8% if I had to guess. But of course, I'd be guessing. Now, we talked about Lam. Wolfspeed is another semiconductor chip maker, and then CSX, same as Union Pacific. We'll be watching that one for sort of the overall economy, a little short summary on that. Now, MasterCard is the same reason that Capital One, I was talking about Capital One, more interested in MasterCard than Capital One. That's more of a sort of middle-class, higher-end consumer feel of the economy. And then Northrop Grumman, it's another defense, sort of like Raytheon Technologies. These guys just came out. I don't know if you guys saw the video on YouTube. They came out with a new stealth bomber. Amazing stuff. Amazing tech with the new stealth bomber. And then Intel, of course, competitor to AMD. We'll be listening to that one to see what they're saying. And these guys, what you have to know is they're spending a lot of money. And part of this, the chip bill, right? The CHIP Act that Congress passed some weeks or months ago. They're getting a lot of money from the government to build foundries here in the U.S. So I'd be interested to hear how they're going to spend that money when these projects are kicking out. I know TSM, Taiwan Semi, is also getting a lot of money to build semiconductor plants here in the U.S. These guys are going to be in Ohio, if I remember right. I think Ohio, they're building a lot, so I'd be interested to hear what they got going on there. Now, Visa, same reason you listen to a summary like MasterCard. L3 Harris is another defense contractor. That's Northrop, L3, and Raytheon. And then Knight is another sort of, these are the trucking stocks. And you hear for the same reason that you hear Pacific, CSX, and Knight and Swift. That's all logistics and how logistics are moving around the U.S. So definitely you want to hear a summary of that one. And then Chevron and American Express. Chevron, I'm always interested in Chevron because that's sort of like the pulse of energy, what the price of gas is doing, and whether they're actually starting to get some CapEx, some capital expenditures on more production of oil. I doubt that's the case since the price of oil has gone down severely from all-time highs. We'll see what they say there, and I'll follow that loosely. And American Express, same thing, Visa and MasterCard combo. Okay, so that's it for this week, guys. There's not much else we need to talk about, guys. Because as usual, if you guys have any questions, let me know how it can be helpful to you. Hit me up here on the comment section. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, whatever I can do to help you, teach you. I'll be happy to do, guys. All right, peace out.